we're here to talk about today is the importance of consent in governance. What are some of the drivers? What's changed? What's bringing us to today? And why is today such an important time for consent and governance?
Consent's always been important in protected channels. What I think a lot of organizations are starting to realize is consent is becoming the key to unlock better and deeper access to data versus a traditional governance program. Consent gives you the ability to think about access and use of data at a row level, which when you couple that with all of the data intensive innovation that's happening and driving hyper-personalized experiences at scale, getting access to the most data to do the most with is super important, and that's how brands are going to win in the market.
I think that so much of the conversation around AI is around the experience. It's around prompts and making things easier for users, for marketers, for technologists. But I think we tend to forget about the fact that data as the foundation is such a critical component, right? And getting the data right is key. Otherwise, you're in a garbage in, garbage out scenario. And consent and preference and governance is really a key for that.
The process of collecting consent, and I like to say permission because consent has a very regulatory overtone. It takes the boogeyman factor out of AI for a lot of brands as it relates to the relationship with their customers, right? This gives brands a way to create a trusted exchange of data with their customers as it relates to automated decision-making or AI in general.
Governance tends to have a poor connotation, right? Everyone who hears the word governance thinks it's more dictatorial and whatnot. When the reality is if done right, governance is an important thing and a key thing, and in fact something that should be taken into consideration up front.
One of the things, if you look at the data governance market over the last 20 years, it's been very much role-based, right? And that approach doesn't create much efficiency, doesn't allow for innovation in a lot of cases. What we're seeing, especially as it relates to the intersection of consent and governance, is you can move to a purpose-based governance model where it's almost like the zero trust movement in security.
In terms of, as we think about the future, as we think about, and you talked about compliance and regulatory, needless to say, there's a lot of things that challenge organizations from moving aggressively towards that. Talk to me a little bit about human in the loop.
Being able to establish predefined policies at the data level, but allowing room for articulation of what the planned use of that data is, marrying that up against the policies to define. There's no rules around what you can and can't do with the data, but there are rules around what data can make it into that process. And that's what we're really adamant about, is that this is not designed to be an inhibitor of innovation or an inhibitor of speed.
So understanding how that comes into play, both from a technology perspective, but mostly from a people perspective, is really important. Would love to hear from you in terms of a client example of where things went well, and maybe some areas where it didn't go so well, or some challenges that clients faced that you helped solve.
We do work in almost all industries. Obviously, the heavily regulated ones are some of our most mature clients out of necessity. And a number of large multinational pharmaceutical organizations have had a ton of success establishing a framework for, at a data level, what can and can't be done with it versus thinking about systems or country-specific projects. So at the global level, they're building great data products. The other added benefit of the maturity of their program is it also gave them really great first-party data for cross-sell, upsell opportunities. And what they did a great job of was, in the process of collecting consent, they articulated in a normal language level, not legalese, here's the value this creates for you by allowing us to do this. Some much higher upticks in providing that data and access to that data. Where I think we see some programs struggle, and why I'm so excited to be here with Deloitte Digital, and we do more work in this space with Deloitte Digital than any other organization on the planet, is the thoughtful design up front is not something that a technology company should do, right? Like, this is bigger than technology.
We like to call that sort of thinking about this as a program and not a project, right? And the fact is, this is not an area where you can tinker, right? It's an area where you really have to be all in and focused on the delivery. In terms of no regrets moves, not a question of knowing what to do or that they want to do it, but they don't know where to start. Are there some key no regrets moves that you would suggest to organizations that are, to your point, thinking about this broader transformation?
First and foremost is the best time to start this work was yesterday. Data is the premium that every organization is operating on. Finding a way, whether it's a business unit, a product line, a specific channel, finding a way to get started is critical. Replacing a relatively sterile opt-out process with an opt-down produces immediate return on investment.
What are you most excited about in terms of the next 12 months as it relates to OneTrust and what you're doing in the market?
Yeah, I think it has to be the intersection of AI with this shift in data sources. There's already been enough movement in the technology landscape to dictate the need to invest in first-party data. And I think even when you couple that with a lot of the agentic experiences and the amount of really valuable consumer-provided insights to brands is a scale that we've never seen before. And I can't think of a more exciting problem to be solving right now.